have been called to live in freedom.
Freedom to serve one another in love.
We have been called to live in freedom.
Freedom to serve one another in love.
For the whole law is summed up in this one command.
Love your neighbor as yourself.
For the whole law is summed up in this one command.
Love your neighbor as yourself.
We have been called to live in freedom.
Freedom to serve one another in love.
We have been called to live in freedom.
Freedom to serve one another in love.
With God you've been trying to make yourself right by keeping the law perfect in His sight. When you live by the Spirit, we eagerly wait. It's in Jesus Christ that we place our faith. We have been called to live in freedom.
Freedom to serve one another in love.
Da-la-la-la-la, freedom, freedom, freedom.
Freedom.
Hi, babe. Oh, we're on. Hello, everybody, and welcome to, I almost said One of a Kind. I used to have a television show a long, long time ago called One of a Kind.
Wow.
It's on the Fox network. Well, welcome to the Good News Show. I'm Pastor Rick.
And
It's
I'm Cheryl.
Nice to have you here. If the first time you're viewing, Good News is about hope for the future, healing for the past, and honesty about today. How are you, Cher?
I am good.
You are good.
I are good.
We'd like to welcome our regular visitors. I'm glad you're with us. Hope your life is going well, and we are praying for you as you are praying for us. You know, we're going to put up the first slide because, you know, we're going to talk about something controversial.
I was just going to say we're calling it good news, but we're going to give a controversial message, but with a good news ending.
With a good news ending. You know, there are topics sometimes that you don't want to stand up for or you don't want to say things about, but this is something I think it's time in our lives that we really, you know, make a point as we get older. You know, it means a lot to, you know, more to me. If I put up the first slide here, Liv, you know, that's the big battle going on in our nation, to keep abortion legal and or to stop abortion now or whatever. And thank you, Liv, for putting that up. I want to read you a quote. It's kind of funny, but I shouldn't say funny, it's kind of a bad choice of word, but Ronald Reagan said, "I've noticed that everyone who is for abortion has already been born." I'm like, oh, geez, you know, and
Wow.
You know, is that something?
That's profound when you think about it.
Here's a quote. Let me see if I find what Gandhi said. Gandhi said here, "It seems to me clear as daylight that abortion would be a crime." And Mother Teresa also said, "How can there be too many children? That is like there are too many flowers."
Oh.
Well, you know what we're going to be talking about? I think what's hilarious about how our world uses words is, you know, when we kill somebody over at war and it's one of our soldiers who does it, we call it friendly fire.
Yes.
You know, and we have words that I don't understand, you know, how we sort of try to
Collateral damage.
Collateral damage.
Yes.
I mean, it's killing people. It's like, so we have this word, you know, pro-choice or pro-life, which is a real difficult debate because, you know, who doesn't want to make choices in their life and who doesn't want to have life? So it's like, you know,
Yes.
it's really, if we were politically correct, I shouldn't say politically correct, if we were just honest, we would say pro-abortion or against abortion. I mean, that would really come down. But the real world we're going to show today, here's the word that we're going to be talking about here. It's coming up on the screen. What is it, honey? It's called what?
Choice.
Okay, what is choice?
An act of selecting or making a decision when faced with two or more possibilities.
You know, I don't like to use the word fault because it makes people feel guilty, but I like the word responsible.
Yes.
I tell people all the time, you know, even though I'm working on my weight, I said, "Do you think I chose to be fat?" And they say, "Of course not. I said, that would mean that food just naturally goes into my mouth. I said, we choose. You know, love is something we choose to do. Our lives are made up of all these choices. We make bad choices and bad things happen. We make good choices, and for the most part, good choices happen. But anyway, we're going to stay on this topic here, and I'm not sure where you're at, but I just want you to welcome you to our show today and have an open mind and just listen to a viewpoint. This is what we believe, you know, to be the
Food for thought.
Yeah, healthy viewpoint. Take a look at this saying here. I want Cheryl, could you read this first saying? What does it say?
Love them both. Abortion kills one, hurts another.
You know, we just watched. We were downstairs watching them film a show, and Lori, who was Jim Baker's wife, had 5 abortions, and you know she's able to talk about the pain of what she went through, and it was really heart wrenching, and you know beautifully that you know the beautiful side of it that God you know has changed her life, and she now has 5 wonderful children, and she's kind of made up for it, and we'll talk a little bit about later. But I want to show you a quote that Mother Teresa has to say about abortion.
The greatest destroyer of peace today is abortion, because it is a war against the child, a direct killing of the innocent child, murder by the mother herself.
Take a look at this other saying.
98% of abortions are for convenience.
Isn't that powerful? Now, here's another saying.
Is that Dr.
Goswell, I believe.
Goswell, convicted of murder because he killed babies a few seconds after they left the womb. Millions of babies are killed legally a few seconds right before. A few seconds shouldn't matter.
Isn't that powerful?
Wow.
Here's another good saying.
The answer to a crisis pregnancy is to eliminate the crisis, not the child. Ooh, that's good.
You'll notice that I didn't put a good saying on this. I put good time to change. I think this is old. I think
it's Americans have aborted, I believe it's 55 million children since 1973.
Oh my gosh. Well, I will tell you this. Thank you, Liv. I am, you know, I know that Olivia's biological mother had many challenges, and I don't know where she's still at with life, but I just thank God that she never aborted, this little one. That,
as was her first
thought. It was her first thought of doing it. So I thank God that decision was made, and I'm going to let you introduce her because she's going to be introducing a movie right now. It's okay, baby.
And without further ado, here is our very alive daughter, Olivia, to do the movie for this week.
Thanks, Mom. Now for this week's good movie. This week's good movie is October Baby. It's about surviving an attempted feticide, learning that every life is beautiful, and discovering you are not an accident. Very good movie. Go check it out. It's on Netflix. Hope you guys enjoy it. Now, here's my mom and my dad.
Love that kid. Awesome. That's the movie she's talking about is a very powerful movie.
It is.
When you're here and you're watching this program, I hope you understand that, the beautiful thing about God is not out to make you feel guilty or to make you feel ashamed if you've had an abortion. God is here to help heal you. And if you happen to be accidentally watching this program and you're about ready to make a choice, here's something that I realized by looking at all of this, that I think the choice isn't between pro-choice and pro-life. I think we're missing the point. I think the choice is between faith and fear. Mm-hmm. I think that when I read all the information on abortion, a lot of times people are, afraid they won't have the money to support the child. They're afraid that the lifestyle is going to change their lives for worse. And I pray that as you watch this program, that your faith is built up, because we have gone through some incredibly tough times, especially in the last year. Today, that we're shooting this on a Thursday night, and you're watching it on a Sunday morning. Today's our 1-year anniversary of being here in Missouri, and I will tell you, we have lived by faith. It is absolutely amazing how we've gone down to pennies, and God has rescued us through people, and He keeps doing it, and He keeps doing it. So, when you're living by freedom, you're living by being free of fear, mm-hmm. and free of guilt and free of shame. today, my wife bought me this lovely book by Billy Graham, and I want to read a bunch of his quotes. I think Billy Graham is probably one of the most beloved, trusted people in America.
Most well known across in the
Yeah,
world,
in the world.
actually.
And I mean, I really respect his wisdom and his knowledge, and this whole notion of looking at abortion. Being an entertainer, I've shied away from it. I've never really delved in it, and but after today's show, I got really inspired to handle this, and I believe the good Lord wants us to discuss this. But we're going to put up a bunch of Billy Joel. Listen to me. You tell him an old rocker. Billy Joel. Billy Graham quotes. And anyway, but I'm going to have my wife read them, and I'll if you keep putting them up, Liv, one after another, because it's incredibly powerful stuff. Here's the first good quote.
The widespread acceptance of abortion is a symbol of something deeper within our society that should also concern us greatly. This is the tendency today to decide moral issues or questions only on the basis of whether or not they are convenient or bring pleasure to a person.
Phew. Here's another one.
I do not feel the church as an organization should become involved in political matters. However, when political issues also have moral and spiritual dimensions, we have a responsibility to speak for the truth. I believe abortion are morally wrong, and we have a responsibility to take a stand.
Here's another one.
Abortion has divided our nation like no other issue in recent times. The Bible places the highest value on human life. It is sacred and of inestimable worth to God, who created it in his own image. The Bible recognizes the unborn as being fully human. As Christians, we have an obligation to show others what God says about living self-controlled lives and being responsible for our moral actions as God defines them. We must never think that we can solve one moral crisis by condoning another, especially the crime of murder, for unrestrained abortion is nothing less than that.
Thanks, Liv. We'll just stop right there for a moment. You know, I think many of us, I taught on this one time that I wish I had that old dictionary, because it taught the difference between liberty and freedom. And that freedom has guidelines. You know, we've been called to live in freedom. We have freedom of press, freedom of religion, you know, freedom of speech. It doesn't mean we can just say anything and just do anything, but there's a real difference between freedom and liberty. And God gives us freedom, but freedom is with guidelines. You can drive down the road between 30 and 60 miles an hour, but you got to stay between the lines and stay within that limit of speed. And I now know in my life that I'm okay for me to have a lot of girls in my life that I am kind to and patient to, and you know, and respect, but there's a limit to my involvement with them. I didn't know that. I lived a life without boundaries, and I think what's really sad about it is that, you know, the enemy lies to people, and you think if you live your life like that, you'll be happier, but you're not. You're not. You're filled with guilt and shame, and God created you, and he knows how you are. And I so appreciate people like, you know, Reverend Billy Graham, because he's got tremendous wisdom. Let's take a look at another one of his quotes here. Thank you, Liv.
How ironic this
Maudlin.
maudlin defense of immorality sounds in the light of its devastating legacy to the nation. Millions of illegitimate births, shattered personalities, divorce, abortions, and rampant sexual diseases, some of which are incurable. God expressly forbids irresponsible sexual behavior in order to spare us the disastrous consequences.
Here's another one. That's exactly what we were talking about.
Abortion would destroy a precious life within a woman, which would be wrong in God's eyes, since that little life bears the image of God. Every day I get letters from those who have had an abortion and now are riddled with guilt and depression over what they have done.
Just hold on for a second. Well, read this one. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Thank you. Liv, you're so fast. You're so good.
The issue of abortion is not whether you have a right to terminate the life of a child. The real issue is whether or not you will insist on running your own life according to your own standards, or whether you will instead let God run your life.
Wow. Do you want to ruin your life, or do you want you know, we will ruin our lives. God will help us run our lives.
Right.
You know, when I heard, we call her Mama Lori, and she was sharing about her abortion, the guilt that she went through. They said, she said that for years she would just cry out for her child, and fortunately she was able to go through a process. She knows her children, her 5 little children are now. She named them all, and she's reconciled herself with God, and she's rid herself of that guilt and that shame that she has, and she knows that they're in heaven. And I don't know if, I'm preaching to a choir right now, or whether or not you've accidentally happened to type something in on Google and the good Lord has brought you to this program. But I will tell you, do not live, if you've had an abortion, come to Jesus and let him get rid of that guilt and that shame. You can start over again. And on the other hand, if you're about to make a decision, your decision is between fear and faith. The fact that this has happened, know what life is an accident. And it's not an accident that you're watching this program right now. But make the choice, choose life, and do not choose fear. God will provide for you. There will be times where you'll just don't think it will happen, but it will. This is not a matter of legality. I don't believe that sometimes when we make drinking illegal, people didn't stop. When we made marijuana illegal, people didn't stop. Look, killing, just plain murder is illegal, and people murder. This is an issue of the heart. And Jesus Christ is the great physician and who changes people's hearts. And I pray that the Spirit of God comes on you. As you put up, Liv, can you put up this next slide here? Take a look at that little face. We're going to watch a good video right now, and I pray that your heart is transformed as you watch this video called The Miracle. Enjoy. I watched that video. I'm just like, you know, I've always said this, that, you know, you can talk about abortion, and abortion is a word, but, you know, when you see a picture, it just so changes you. You know, when you see those facts in that video, it makes you look at things differently. And, you know, I know I have friends who are still pro-choice, and it sort of shocks me. Well, I will tell you, I think what the enemy wants us to do is, you know, that was a beautiful video about pro-life, but I think that sometimes we're afraid to just get real about what abortion really is. You agree? Mm-hmm. In fact, there was a video that was played in schools that they had to stop playing it because people complained that it was too realistic about
Too
what
graphic.
it is. This goes back to the words that we talked about. You know, friendly fire. You know, if that was your son who was killed in war, you don't think of it as friendly fire. It's still a
Yeah,
death.
they call it like terminating a pregnancy, and it so removes the child from the equation. It doesn't say we're going to, well, you got pictures.
Yeah, pictures are worth 1,000 words. I know it's an old quote, but take a look at this. This is what an abortion looks like, and I'm sorry if it's too graphic for you. You can look away, but I apologize. But this is just reality. Take a look at this slide right here. Okay, look at that little baby. Okay, that little baby. That's not. I'm not sure that child was being aborted, or whether or not, you know, they don't look like that when they're being aborted. That was probably somebody that passed that the, you know, pregnancy didn't go to full term. But the next picture I'm going to show you is what it looks like. And I'm sorry to gross you out, but this is what a real abortion looks like. This is what they see on the table. They pull that little baby out and pull pieces of it all, and, you know, and I mean, and sometimes it's a lot more graphic and a lot more worse. Here's another picture of it all. I mean, oh my gosh, you know, that's a little person. That could have been you. That is somebody who's never had a chance to live a life. And, you know, the worst of all is look how dirty and just awful this next picture is. It's just, it gives you a sense of, you know, the brutality of what it is. And if it's inside the mother, it's called an abortion. If the child is pulled out a little bit, it's called murder. It's crazy how we look at things. So I want you to look at the camera. Look at me right here as we talk about this. I'm going to go to my own camera here. I just want to say this, you know, again, I'm going to repeat, you know, I'm not here to gross you out. I'm not here to, you know, to shock you or do anything. I'm here, you know, as a representative of Jesus Christ, to make sure that the decisions that you make in your life are decisions that you live with. I made a lot of sick decisions in my life, and I've lived with guilt and shame and fear, and I thank God for the gospel of Jesus Christ, the gospel of grace that set me free from all this garbage and stuff. And if you're watching this by accident, and I just pray that the Holy Spirit touches you and helps relieve you of your guilt and your shame. And you know, if you're about ready to make a decision, I pray that after listening to this program and watching that video and seeing those, you know, those pictures, that you make a decision that you know is a godly decision that'll give you peace and that'll give you joy. Cheryl, did you want to say something before we close up here? This has been a hard show. Thank you, Liv, for going back to the camera here.
Yeah, it was a difficult show, I think, you know, and there's obviously a lot of circumstances where, you know, it's a difficult choice, and I think it's been said so many times, but being adoptive parents, that is such a serious choice, because I know how many people are desperate to have children. Not that, you know, we weren't desperate to have a baby. We were very fortunate that we got Olivia when she was, you know, very, very young, and so she immediately bonded to our family. But oh my gosh, with as many people out there that have loving, caring hearts ready for a child, just, you know, I hope that option always stays available when they have to make a choice like that.
Well, you know, I've put up a little slide here, and I believe this is a good decision for someone right now. Take a look at this slide. No, the other one, Liv. One before that. There we go. Here's a good decision. Yes, I am anti-abortion. Why aren't you?
you?
Why don't we call it exactly what it is? This pro-life and this pro-choice sounds so confusing. You know, yes, I want people to make choices in their life. I am for choices, but that does not mean I'm for abortion.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, when we talk about being, you know, pro-life, and I don't know, it just sounds so clouded over. I'm just against abortion. There's no ifs and buts about it. And you know, whoever you're watching out there, and you have your right to your choice. And I think what's really amazing, I'm not trying to convert you. I'm just making these decisions that have been good decisions in my life. And I think what's really beautiful about being in this place is we're growing as Christians.
Mm-hmm.
And that picture that Liv put up before, I want to put it up on the screen again, keep it up there. That is called Lori's house. That is just down in the valley, right, a little bit away from us. They're in the process of finishing that up right now. They're putting the kitchen in an elevator, and I'm so happy to be up here and watching these things go on, because that house right there will have about 80 beds dedicated to having moms that will make a decision of whether or not they're going to abort their babies. This place is giving them an option. I want to just say something to the camera again when we get up. A new friend of mine, his name is Pastor Lloyd. He's just new here. And Lloyd said something, I was just crying my eyes out. He said, you know, he said, it's not about just a child being born. He said that when a child is born, he said, a mother is born. And I thought, you're right. You know, when you really understand your marriage, I'm no longer an individual. When I married Cheryl, it took us renewing our vows for me to understand this. But I was no longer an individual. I was no longer just a person. When we took our vows, it became, I'm now a husband.
A husband was born and a wife was born.
Yeah, husband, and our roles totally changed.
And a couple was born.
Yeah, and then when Olivia came into our lives, I'm no longer a husband and she's no longer a wife. I'm now dad, and
mom.
And she's a mom, and everything else changes. And you know, when you become a Christian, everything changes. You no longer can just sit by and watch things happen in the world. You sit and you stand up for something and you make a difference.
And they said a great thing today too. It's not about yourself, it's about others. And I think that's just summarizes what a parent is, because when you have that child before you, it's not necessarily about me or him. It's
and you know,
what's best for.
I'm kind of filling up right now because I know the next picture that's coming up. You know, sometimes you don't know of your life if you've made a difference in people's lives, but you know, we had a worship leader. We had these wonderful people in our church for the longest time, and one of them was such a good friend of mine and such an inspiration, and her name was Alina. And to know that Alina, she went through some rough times in her life, but now she's happily married, and I'm just all filled up, and I'm so happy that and joyful that she was part of our church, where she made the right decision, the type of girl that she is, and you know, wanting to live a
So
free
proud
life.
of her.
And,
Oh my
and I
gosh.
mean, we pray for her, and we're so proud of her. And just a little while ago, now we'll leave you with the good news. Here's the good picture. Here's a little baby.
That's Sophia.
That's Sophia. That is a life. That
Alina
is the
and Grant.
Yes.
That's their new little girl. That's the good news of good choices and a good life, and a mom and a dad were born.
And that little baby, when it grows up and just...
Boy, is she loved already.
Oh my gosh, and when she says...
Grandma and Grandpa,
yeah,
so
Grandma,
proud.
when she says her
JT,
first mommy and
yeah.
daddy,
Oh, it'll be all
Alina
over.
and Grant will know how precious money can't buy that. There's nothing greater than being a parent. I looked for things in my life that would fulfill my life, and when we got Olivia, my life has never been the same, and neither is my wife's because of Olivia. So I just pray that if you're watching this program and you're about to make a decision, that you make the right decision, and if you do, you'll experience the joy that Grant and Alina and all her family and grandparents and aunts and uncles are having, because they chose life and they made the right choice to to bring a little
And
baby.
they will
in.
have life and life abundant.
Okay, Cheryl, I'm going to go get ready to do the finale here, the last song,
Okay.
and you can talk to
Well,
our faith partners.
I want to talk to our partners before we go to that song. As always, I want to thank all of our prayer partners and our financial partners. And it's kind of funny because even as we end with this is our offer for this month, and it says, "Eat this and live for kids." So this is going to be our gift that we will give
I'm
for
pull
any
it a little bit that way.
that we will
It's
give
not in
for
this-
any donation. I'm trying to get it non-glare. There we
There
go.
you go.
For any donation to this ministry, Rick Pinette Ministries, we will be sending you this book. And there's so many valuable things. I mean, anti-inflammatory stuff. I just read all kinds of foods about how not to be pudgy. So see, it's not we're fat, we're eating inflammatory foods. So that's worth getting the book right there. So thank you, partners. We will be sending that for any amount of donation. And now we're going to join Pastor Rick as he sings. Oh, wait, before we do that, I better remind you of the Bible study coming up on Wednesday. It's called Living on a Prayer, and if you have not seen any of those, go to the past Bible studies and catch up. This is an amazing series that he's doing, and the next part's going to be how to pray about your problems. So check that out and consider this on Wednesdays. And as I said, you can catch up on the pages that you have missed, the chapters you have missed. And now we're going to join Pastor Rick as he closes us with a song called "I Surrender All."
My heart is guarded, my body is weak, my mind is tired, it's so hard to speak. My soul is crying, longing to be healed, my strength subsiding. On my knees I kneel. Jesus, I don't know what to say. And Jesus, I don't know what to pray. So I surrender all. Lord, I surrender all. I surrender all. Lord, I surrender all. Lord, I surrender all. I surrender all. I want to thank you for watching the Good News Show. You know, maybe you've, like I said earlier, you had an abortion and you're feeling tremendous amounts of guilt and shame. But I want you to know that the cross of Jesus Christ is bigger than your sin. Ask Him into your heart right now to say, Jesus, I know I made a bad decision, and He'll take your pain away. And if you're in the process of making a decision of whether or not to abort your child, remember to live by faith. And sometimes we don't know what to pray. Sometimes we don't even know what to say to Jesus. Well, I have those moments too when you're in craziness. And it's just time that you just lift it up to Him as I say, Lord, I surrender all. Lord, I surrender all. I surrender all. I surrender all. Lord, I surrender all. I surrender all. Grace and peace to you. May you make the right choice. Choose life. God bless you.